Welcome to Zoe Stories. Stuck in my best friend's body. I've always felt a little different. People saw me as quiet, normal, maybe even predictable, but I had a secret that no one could understand. I loved cross-dressing. At first, it was just a hobby, a way to experiment with clothes, makeup, and a side of myself no one else saw. But slowly, it became something I needed. A secret world that only I could enter. And sometimes, my girlfriend, Sarah. Sarah and I had been together since high school. She knows me better than anyone, yet exploring my hidden side with her was still thrilling and terrifying. Her eyes were always curious, yet approving, and I felt like she was both my safe space and, sometimes, a subtle trap. The more I played with my secret, the higher the stakes became. My routine was simple. Work, come home, get a little lost in my private world. My bedroom became my sanctuary, where I could transform into whoever I wanted to be. High heels, makeup, dresses, these weren't just clothes. They were doors to another identity. The first time I wore a full outfit, applied lipstick, and shaped my eyebrows just right, I felt like I had entered another world. Excitement and fear tangled inside me, a mix I couldn't resist. But this secret wasn't entirely mine. Sarah was part of the journey, and her mischievous smiles reminded me that our little adventures weren't always completely safe. Today felt ordinary, yet something felt different. Sarah had left subtle hints that she suspected I was unusually excited. As I opened my closet and pulled out a soft pink dress, a thrill shot through me. This dress, it wasn't just a piece of clothing. It was perfect for the persona I longed to become, the side of me that only existed in private. Standing in front of my makeup table, brush in hand, I felt each step pulling me deeper into my secret world. Powder, blush, mascara, every stroke reshaped more than my appearance. It reshaped my mindset. When I highlighted my eyes with eyeshadow, I felt like someone else entirely. Someone daring, someone bold, yet so fragile. My heart raced, the line between fear and excitement blurring. If Sarah came home early, all of this could be exposed. Looking into the mirror, I realized this wasn't just a physical transformation. It was emotional, too. Accepting myself, even in private, was exhilarating, but the lurking fear of discovery kept me tense, alert, and achingly alive. A vibration on my phone jolted me back to reality. A message from Sarah. Working late tonight. The house is all yours. Relief washed over me, and excitement too. I was completely alone. This was my chance to fully immerse myself. Sliding into my heels, adjusting the dress, and fitting the wig perfectly, I felt the tension and thrill peak. Every step was a new sensation. The click of heels on the floor, the smooth touch of fabric against my skin, the reflection of my eyes sparkling back at me from the mirror. It all felt surreal, yet a shadow lingered in my mind. What if someone comes? What if Sarah comes home unexpectedly? The thought, once thrilling, now added a layer of suspense. My secret wasn't just fun, it was risky. And that risk was addictive. In the corner of my room, a photo frame captured a moment of happiness. Sarah and I smiling together. Looking at it, I felt she wasn't judging either side of me. She was enjoying it. That realization gave me a confidence I never felt before. Taking a deep breath and giving one last glance in the mirror, I stepped confidently onto my heels, the click echoing across the room. I knew this was just the beginning. Was tonight only a fleeting thrill, or was my secret about to spiral out of control? The uncertainty was intoxicating. That suspense, the very heartbeat of my secret life. The moment Sarah's message popped up on my phone, a rush of relief and excitement collided inside me. Working late tonight. The house is all yours alone. Completely alone. My pulse quickened, a thrill shooting straight to my chest. Hours of privacy stretched before me, a dangerous playground where my secret self could finally take center stage. And yet, fear coiled around that excitement like a serpent. What if someone came unexpectedly? What if the neighbor peeked through the window? What if Sarah, mischievously early, caught me mid-transformation? My hand shook slightly, a mix of adrenaline and nerves, but I couldn't stop. The allure of this hidden world was too strong. I walked toward my closet with slow, deliberate steps, the soft floor creaking under my heels. My fingers ran over the hangers, lingering on the pink dress I had chosen for tonight. Silk, soft and delicate, with a flow that promised elegance and seduction in one sweep. I lifted it gently, pressing it against my body, imagining the reflection that awaited me. My chest tightened with anticipation, and yes, a little fear. The heels were next. I crouched down, balancing carefully as I slipped them on, adjusting the straps so they fit perfectly. The click as my heels hit the hardwood floor echoed through the empty apartment, sharp and intoxicating. Every sound seemed louder tonight, sharper, like the world was holding its breath with me. I moved to my makeup table, eyes scanning the array of brushes, powders, and palettes. The ritual of transformation had always been the most intimate part of this secret life. Foundation first, to even out my skin, masking the masculine contours I wasn't ready to reveal. Then blush, a touch of warmth to make my face softer, more delicate. Mascara lengthened my lashes, framing eyes that now seemed wider, more alive, more feminine. Finally, the lipstick, a deep pink shade that made my lips feel fuller, my smile daring, my confidence surging even as anxiety gnawed at me. I sat there for a moment, staring at my reflection. I hardly recognized the person looking back. Someone bold, someone playful, someone fragile. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. This persona, the one I only fully embraced in private, felt more alive than I had in months. Yet the fear lingered. One sound, one shadow, and everything could crumble. I straightened, lifting my wig from the chair. Long, silky, cascading strands that would transform my silhouette entirely. I fitted it carefully, adjusting it so it framed my face perfectly. The mirror confirmed the change. My features softened, my jawline less harsh, my eyes more mysterious. Every brushstroke, every adjustment, every small detail had pulled me deeper into a world I rarely allowed myself to inhabit. The thrill wasn't just physical, it was psychological. I could feel it in the flutter of my stomach, the tremor in my fingers, the rapid beat of my heart. Alone, yes, but also dangerously close to discovery. That balance between exhilaration and fear, the tightrope of secrecy, was intoxicating. I took a deep breath, running my hands along the fabric of the dress one last time. The silk was cool, smooth, almost whispering against my skin. Sliding into the dress, adjusting the hem, I felt a strange mix of vulnerability and empowerment. Each step in my heels was a declaration. I was here. I existed in this persona. And yet, the suspense of the night ahead reminded me that every second carried risk. I moved through the apartment carefully, testing the persona in motion. Each sway of my hips, each click of my heels, each glance in the mirror reinforced the transformation. This was more than clothing or makeup, it was freedom. It was danger. It was me, fully and unapologetically, in a world where no one else could touch me, and yet, where discovery lurked around every corner. A gust of wind rattled the window, making me jump slightly. My mind raced. What if someone outside noticed the silhouette behind the curtains? Every shadow now seemed like a potential observer. The adrenaline surged, every nerve ending alive, every breath quickened. This was the edge of my secret world, the place where thrill met terror. And then I paused. I looked at myself in the mirror, wig perfectly in place, makeup flawless, dress flowing elegantly. Alone, vulnerable, alive. My heartbeat echoed in my ears. This was the beginning. The night had just started. And the suspense, the dangerous, electrifying suspense, was only going to grow from here. I sank into the chair at my makeup table, the world narrowing down to the glow of the vanity lights and my own reflection. Every detail mattered now. Foundation had already softened my features, blush added warmth, and mascara made my lashes flutter like delicate wings. But it was the lipstick, the bold, confident pink, that truly transformed me. One slow stroke across my lips, and suddenly, I was both familiar and entirely new. My reflection stared back at me, a stranger and a friend at once. I reached up, smoothing a stray strand of wig, feeling the silky texture against my fingertips. Every movement, every adjustment, was a delicate balance between control and vulnerability. The person in the mirror looked confident, poised, daring, but my chest still hammered with fear. Could anyone really see me like this? Could they ever understand this side of me? I leaned closer, examining my eyes. The mascara made them larger, more expressive, but it was the subtle sparkle, the shimmer I had added with eyeshadow, that caught my attention. It felt almost like magic, like a spell that could transform, not just appearance but perception. I tried to imagine how Sarah would react if she saw me like this. Would she laugh, approve, or judge me? The uncertainty gnawed at my stomach. The thrill of secrecy mingled with shame in a strange, addictive cocktail. I knew what I was doing was dangerous, that discovery could destroy the delicate balance of trust and intimacy I had with Sarah. And yet, the forbidden nature of it only made it more intoxicating. Every brushstroke, every click of the brush, was a pulse of rebellion and delight. I tried moving my head, tilting slightly to check the wig from different angles. The reflection shifted with me, fluid and dynamic. I traced my jawline lightly with my fingers, marveling at how soft and delicate it seemed under the veneer of makeup. There was an undeniable power in this persona, the ability to become someone else entirely. And yet, power was entwined with fragility. One wrong move, one sound, and my secret could shatter in an instant. I pressed my lips together, feeling the smoothness of the lipstick, and ran my hands along the dress again. The silk felt alive beneath my fingertips, flowing naturally with every subtle movement. The sensation was intoxicating. I had never felt so acutely aware of my body, so intensely conscious of every curve, every line, every reflection of light on skin and fabric. A faint noise from the hallway made me jump, my heart skipping. The hum of the refrigerator, distant traffic, even the creak of the floor under my own heels felt magnified. Each sound became a potential threat, a reminder that the world outside this private room could intrude at any moment. The suspense sharpened my senses, making me hyper-aware of every motion, every detail, every shadow. I leaned back slightly in the chair and let my eyes roam over the reflection. There was a thrill in the way the persona stared back at me, the boldness in the posture, the subtle tilt of the head, the glint in the eyes. I felt seen, even if only by the mirror. But beneath that thrill lay a tight coil of anxiety. The duality was consuming, empowerment and fear, exhilaration and shame, all at once. As I reached for the blush brush again, a thought struck me. Why did this secret excite me so much? Was it merely the act of dressing up, or something deeper? Something primal about self-expression, identity, and forbidden desire? I felt a shiver run down my spine as the realization sank in. Every movement I made, every reflection I observed, wasn't just play, it was revelation. I tested my persona in small gestures, brushing my hands along the skirt, adjusting the wig, tilting my head, practicing subtle smiles. The reflection seemed to respond in kind, affirming my presence, my identity. And yet, every second was loaded with tension. One wrong sound from outside could destroy the illusion. One sudden interruption could unravel the delicate web of secrecy I had woven. I caught myself imagining someone entering, Sarah, a friend, a neighbor, and the terror shot straight to my chest. My pulse raced, my fingers trembled slightly, and the faintest flush rose to my cheeks, both real and reflected in the persona staring back at me. The suspense wasn't just external, it had burrowed inside, shaping my heartbeat, my breathing, my thoughts. Then, almost instinctively, I rose from the chair and took a slow step toward the hallway mirror. The reflection shifted with me, curves flowing, heels clicking softly against the floor. I studied the persona from every angle, noticing small details, the way the dress hugged my waist, the shadow of my lashes, the delicate curve of my lips. Each detail reinforced the fantasy. Each glance deepened the thrill. The room seemed smaller, the lights warmer, the shadows longer. Every reflection, every sound, every subtle movement amplified the suspense. I was fully immersed now, not just in appearance but in psyche. Every nerve ending was alive, every thought heightened. The fear of discovery made the pleasure sharper, the thrill more potent. I realized with a shiver that this was what I craved, the dance between exposure and secrecy, between reality and persona, between fear and exhilaration. And as I lingered in that reflection, alone yet entirely exposed to myself, I knew that the night was only beginning. The persona I had created wasn't just for play. It was a statement, a risk, and a thrill all at once. And somewhere deep inside, I wondered, what would happen if the world outside my mirror finally collided with this secret identity? I took a deep breath and stepped away from the makeup table, the heels clicking against the hardwood floor like a warning drum. Alone as I was, the apartment suddenly felt enormous, almost cavernous, every sound echoing in my heightened state. The persona I had crafted wasn't just sitting still anymore. I had to move, to feel it in action, to see how it responded to the world beyond the mirror. The first step was careful, measured. The heels forced my body into slow, deliberate movements, each one amplifying the thrill. My dress swayed gently with every motion, silk brushing against my thighs, soft and whispering, reminding me that I wasn't just walking, I was performing, embodying a side of myself that had long been trapped. The sensation sent shivers down my spine. I had never been so acutely aware of the way my body moved, of the delicate curves, the sway of hips, the balance needed to stay upright. I approached the hallway mirror, testing angles and posture. Tilting my head slightly, I caught the reflection of the soft blush, the glossy pink lips, the long lashes framing eyes that now seemed to sparkle with confidence. The thrill was intoxicating, but the tension coiled tightly in my chest. Every sound outside the apartment, every creak of the floor, made me freeze in place. Was it just imagination, or did someone actually pass by the window? My pulse spiked. I experimented with gestures, raising my hands to adjust the wig, letting my fingers brush lightly along my cheeks. The reflection responded, almost like it had a life of its own. I couldn't help but smile, reveling in the power of this persona. And yet, each movement was a calculated risk. One misplaced step, one rustle, one shadow could expose me, unraveling hours of careful secrecy. Curiosity, and maybe recklessness, pushed me further. I walked to the living room, testing the sway of the dress as I moved across open space. Each click of my heels was amplified in the empty apartment, sounding like an alarm to my anxious mind. I adjusted the hem of the skirt, spinning once slowly, letting the fabric fan out. The reflection in the mirror along the wall captured the motion perfectly, revealing a form that was both alluring and fragile. Then came a shiver of self-awareness. I realized how exposed I was, not just physically, but emotionally. The persona wasn't just an outfit or makeup. It was me, daring to exist in a form I rarely allowed myself to inhabit, vulnerable to discovery, and yet completely alive. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat, adrenaline coursing through every vein, making my fingers tingle, my chest tighten, my stomach twist. This was no longer a private indulgence, it was a test of nerve, of daring, of control. I paced slowly, deliberately, practicing small movements, sitting gracefully on the couch, crossing legs and heels, letting fingers brush along the silk of the dress. Each gesture felt like a statement. I existed here, in this form, and the thrill of being seen, even if only by myself, was intoxicating. Yet the suspense gnawed at me. A sudden knock, a shadow outside, the faintest sound of footsteps in the hall, all could reveal my secret. I paused near a tall mirror, examining the persona head to toe. The wig framed my face perfectly, the makeup highlighted every feature, the dress hugged my curves just right, and the heels elongated my legs in a way that felt both daring and terrifying. I ran a hand lightly along my waist, feeling the soft silk, the smooth skin beneath, and the power of the transformation pulse through me. The silence of the apartment was broken only by my own breathing, sharp and uneven. Every creak of the floor, every hum from the refrigerator, made my heart jump. I realized I had become hyper-aware, every nerve ending alive, every sense heightened. Being alone was both liberation and torture. The suspense of discovery kept me alert, aware, and achingly alive. Then, the unthinkable, a faint rustle at the window. My breath caught. I froze, heels planted firmly, hands clutching the dress. For a moment, I convinced myself it was nothing, maybe the wind, maybe a tree branch brushing against the glass. But my mind, already attuned to tension, imagined the worst. Someone could see me. Someone could know. And the thrill, the fear, the exhilaration all surged at once. I leaned closer to the mirror, testing my persona with deliberate gestures, tilting my head, letting a smile curl my lips, adjusting the wig ever so slightly. The reflection stared back, confident yet vulnerable, daring yet fragile. The persona was alive, almost sentient, and I felt both control and surrender at the same time. Every movement was a calculated dance. I twirled once, letting the fabric of the dress flare dramatically, testing the balance of heels and the sway of hips. The reflection seemed to approve, almost mocking me with its boldness. The suspense, the thrill, the fear of exposure, it all combined into a heady mixture that made my pulse race, my fingers tingle, my stomach churn with excitement. Hours, or maybe minutes, passed. Alone, transformed, and acutely aware of the potential for discovery, I embraced the duality of my situation. I was both myself and someone else, both powerful and fragile, both daring and terrified. Every step, every reflection, every movement heightened the suspense, sharpened the thrill, and deepened the emotional stakes. By the end of that session, I realized something important. This wasn't just about clothing or makeup. It was about testing boundaries, confronting fears, and embracing a side of myself I had long hidden. And yet, lurking beneath the exhilaration was a single, undeniable truth. At any moment, everything could come crashing down. I took a deep breath and stepped away from the makeup table, the heels clicking against the hardwood floor like a warning drum. Alone as I was, the apartment suddenly felt enormous, almost cavernous, every sound echoing in my heightened state. The persona I had crafted wasn't just sitting still anymore. I had to move, to feel it in action, to see how it responded to the world beyond the mirror. The first step was careful, measured. The heels forced my body into slow, deliberate movements, each one amplifying the thrill. My dress swayed gently with every motion, silk brushing against my thighs, soft and whispering, reminding me that I wasn't just walking, I was performing, embodying a side of myself that had long been trapped. The sensation sent shivers down my spine. I had never been so acutely aware of the way my body moved, of the delicate curves, the sway of hips, the balance needed to stay upright. I approached the hallway mirror, testing angles and posture. Tilting my head slightly, I caught the reflection of the soft blush, the glossy pink lips, the long lashes framing eyes that now seemed to sparkle with confidence. The thrill was intoxicating, but the tension coiled tightly in my chest. Every sound outside the apartment, every creak of the floor, made me freeze in place. Was it just imagination, or did someone actually pass by the window? My pulse spiked. I experimented with gestures, raising my hands to adjust the wig, letting my fingers brush lightly along my cheeks. The reflection responded, almost like it had a life of its own. I couldn't help but smile, reveling in the power of this persona. And yet, each movement was a calculated risk. One misplaced step, one rustle, one shadow could expose me, unraveling hours of careful secrecy. Curiosity, and maybe recklessness, pushed me further. I walked to the living room, testing the sway of the dress as I moved across open space. Each click of my heels was amplified in the empty apartment, sounding like an alarm to my anxious mind. I adjusted the hem of the skirt, spinning once slowly, letting the fabric fan out. The reflection in the mirror along the wall captured the motion perfectly, revealing a form that was both alluring and fragile. Then came a shiver of self-awareness. I realized how exposed I was, not just physically but emotionally. The persona wasn't just an outfit or makeup. It was me, daring to exist in a form I rarely allowed myself to inhabit, vulnerable to discovery, and yet completely alive. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat, adrenaline coursing through every vein, making my fingers tingle, my chest tighten, my stomach twist. This was no longer a private indulgence, it was a test of nerve, of daring, of control. I paced slowly, deliberately, practicing small movements, sitting gracefully on the couch, crossing legs and heels, letting fingers brush along the silk of the dress. Each gesture felt like a statement. I existed here, in this form, and the thrill of being seen, even if only by myself, was intoxicating. Yet the suspense gnawed at me. A sudden knock, a shadow outside, the faintest sound of footsteps in the hall, all could reveal my secret. I paused near a tall mirror, examining the persona head to toe. The wig framed my face perfectly, the makeup highlighted every feature, the dress hugged my curves just right, and the heels elongated my legs in a way that felt both daring and terrifying. I ran a hand lightly along my waist, feeling the soft silk, the smooth skin beneath, and the power of the transformation pulse through me. The silence of the apartment was broken only by my own breathing, sharp and uneven. Every creak of the floor, every hum from the refrigerator, made my heart jump. I realized I had become hyper-aware, every nerve ending alive, every sense heightened. Being alone was both liberation and torture. The suspense of discovery kept me alert, aware, and achingly alive. Then, the unthinkable, a faint rustle at the window. My breath caught. I froze, heels planted firmly, hands clutching the dress. For a moment, I convinced myself it was nothing, maybe the wind, maybe a tree branch brushing against the glass. But my mind, already attuned to tension, imagined the worst. Someone could see me. Someone could know. And the thrill, the fear, the exhilaration all surged at once. I leaned closer to the mirror, testing my persona with deliberate gestures, tilting my head, letting a smile curl my lips, adjusting the wig ever so slightly. The reflection stared back, confident yet vulnerable, daring yet fragile. The persona was alive, almost sentient, and I felt both control and surrender at the same time. Every movement was a calculated dance. I twirled once, letting the fabric of the dress flare dramatically, testing the balance of heels and the sway of hips. The reflection seemed to approve, almost mocking me with its boldness. The suspense, the thrill, the fear of exposure, it all combined into a heady mixture that made my pulse race, my fingers tingle, my stomach churn with excitement. Hours or maybe minutes passed. Alone, transformed, and acutely aware of the potential for discovery, I embraced the duality of my situation. I was both myself and someone else, both powerful and fragile, both daring and terrified. Every step, every reflection, every movement heightened the suspense, sharpened the thrill, and deepened the emotional stakes. By the end of that session, I realized something important. This wasn't just about clothing or makeup. It was about testing boundaries, confronting fears, and embracing a side of myself I had long hidden. And yet, lurking beneath the exhilaration was a single, undeniable truth. At any moment, everything could come crashing down. Maya had lingered just long enough to test my nerves, and when she finally left, the apartment felt both empty and charged, as if the very air were holding its breath. I stood in the center of the living room, heels clicking softly against the floor, dress swaying, wig perfectly in place. Alone again, yet the adrenaline coursing through me refused to fade. My reflection in the hallway mirror seemed almost alive, a teasing reminder of how exposed and powerful I felt all at once. I moved closer, examining the persona head to toe. Every detail mattered. The way the dress hugged my curves, the subtle shimmer of my eyeshadow, the delicate pink on my lips. I adjusted my posture, tilting my head, letting my fingers brush lightly along the wig. Each movement reinforced the persona, someone confident, alluring, daring. And yet, beneath that exterior, tension coiled like a spring, every nerve alert to the possibility of discovery. The apartment was silent now, but the silence itself was oppressive. Every small noise, a creak in the floor, the hum of the refrigerator, the faint rustle of the curtains, felt amplified. I could almost imagine someone standing just outside, watching, waiting. The duality of fear and exhilaration tightened in my chest. My heart raced, a drumbeat of suspense that matched the thrill of being fully immersed in this secret world. I walked deliberately from room to room, testing the sway of the dress, the balance of the heels, the fluidity of my movements. Each step felt like a declaration. I exist here. I am alive in this persona. I am both vulnerable and powerful. My reflection followed me, confirming the transformation, yet every glance reminded me of how fragile this moment was. One knock at the door, one unexpected visitor, could shatter everything. I paused in front of the mirror, leaning closer, studying the persona with an intensity one had never allowed myself before. The reflection stared back, bold, confident, and yet undeniably fragile. I traced the contours of my cheeks, the curve of my lips, the subtle shimmer in my eyes. The persona wasn't just a disguise, it was a revelation, an exploration of a side of myself I had hidden, and now it was alive. And then came the psychological tension, the realization that this night was more than a private indulgence. It was a test, a challenge, a dangerous dance on the edge of exposure. I felt every emotion acutely, the thrill of secrecy, the fear of being discovered, the exhilaration of inhabiting this persona fully. I was alone, yet completely exposed. Powerful, yet fragile. Bold, yet terrified. I practiced small gestures, letting my hands flow along the fabric of the dress, tilting my head, adjusting the wig, experimenting with smiles and expressions. The reflection responded, almost teasing me with its audacity. Each movement heightened the suspense, every rustle of silk, every click of heels, a reminder of the razor-thin line I was walking between freedom and exposure. Then a thought struck me. What if someone did walk in? What if Sarah returned early? The possibility sent a thrill racing through me, a combination of fear and desire. I realized that the persona I had created was not just a mask. It was a version of myself capable of confronting these risks, capable of daring to exist in ways I had never dared before. The adrenaline made me aware of every detail, the texture of the fabric, the weight of the heels, the softness of the wig, the smoothness of my makeup. Every sensation was magnified, charged with suspense, excitement, and vulnerability. I wandered back to the hallway mirror one last time, taking in the full effect of the transformation. The persona gazed back at me, confident, alluring, and alive. I could feel the tension in my body, the anticipation, the fear, the thrill, all colliding into a heady mixture that left me dizzy and exhilarated. The suspense had reached its peak. I was ready, or as ready as I could ever be, for whatever the night had in store. The build-up was complete. I was fully immersed, fully transformed, and fully aware that the next steps, the climax, would test me like never before. Every sound, every shadow, every potential interruption was now magnified. I was teetering on the edge of exposure, my heart pounding with the thrill of being caught and the intoxicating power of my secret. And as I stood there, heels clicking softly, dress swaying, wig perfect, makeup flawless, I knew one thing with absolute clarity. Nothing would ever feel the same again. I thought I was alone. I thought the apartment was my sanctuary. But then, the unmistakable sound of keys turning in the lock shattered the fragile illusion. My heart lurched violently, slamming against my ribs like a drum announcing doom.
Sarah. She was home early.
Every nerve in my body screamed. Panic surged, sharp and suffocating. My heels clicked against the floor as I spun toward the mirror, fingers trembling. Dress clutched tightly against my body, wig slightly askew, lips perfectly painted in bold pink. The persona I had cultivated so carefully now teetered on the edge of exposure. I had mere seconds. My mind raced at a frantic pace, calculating every possible escape, every route to concealment, every lie I could tell. The apartment felt smaller now, suffocating, every shadow hiding the potential for discovery. I pressed myself against the wall, trying to appear calm, trying to breathe silently, trying to will Sarah to somehow not notice. And then she entered. The apartment door swung open, the familiar sound of her footsteps filling the space. I froze mid-motion, my body rigid, my reflection in the mirror suddenly accusing, alive, revealing everything. "Hey, are you here?" Her voice was casual, but my heart recognized the danger lurking behind it. She had no idea what she was about to see. I swallowed hard, forcing a laugh, attempting to project a casual demeanor that my body absolutely refused to support. My knees threatened to buckle in heels that now felt like instruments of my undoing. Yeah, just hanging out," I stammered, trying to sound natural, failing miserably. Her eyes immediately darted over me. The wig, the dress, the heels, the makeup, and then recognition. A pause. The sharp, almost imperceptible intake of breath. Her voice faltered. "What is this?" Time slowed. My heart pounded so loudly I was certain she could hear it. I felt every muscle tighten, every thought fragment into panic and desperation. The persona I had inhabited so fully was now a liability, a threat. Exposure was imminent. I can explain," I whispered, voice cracking. The room felt smaller, tighter, constricting. Every second stretched endlessly as Sarah took a cautious step forward, her eyes wide, curious, shocked, yet not entirely angry. I ran my hands along the silk of the dress, the smooth texture grounding me, reminding me that despite the fear, despite the panic, this persona was still mine. Every inch of me, the wig, the heels, the makeup, was a declaration of identity, of desire, of secrecy revealed. And now, the test. Could I survive this confrontation without everything unraveling? Her gaze lingered, scanning every detail, assessing, judging. The silence stretched unbearably. I could hear my own breathing, rapid and shallow, mingling with the soft hum of the apartment. My mind spun, considering every outcome: anger, laughter, curiosity, rejection. Any of them could destroy everything I had built. And then, unexpectedly, a small smirk tugged at the corner of her lips. "I didn't think you'd actually do it, not fully," she murmured, almost in disbelief. Relief, dangerous and fleeting, washed over me, but the suspense wasn't gone. Her tone wasn't accusing, but the unspoken questions, the weight of discovery, the razor-thin line between acceptance and chaos, it kept me teetering on the edge. I took a cautious step forward, trying to reclaim some semblance of confidence, but the heels betrayed me with a tiny, loud click. Sarah's head snapped toward the sound, eyes narrowing, and I felt the full weight of exposure press down like a tidal wave. Every muscle tensed, every breath caught. I realized in that instant, the night had transformed from playful secrecy to high-stakes suspense. One wrong move, one slip, one flinch, and the persona I had so carefully built would be laid bare. And deep inside, a part of me thrilled at the danger, the adrenaline, the fear, the intoxicating tension. This was the culmination of everything: the private indulgence, the hidden identity, the psychological tightrope. The climax wasn't just external, it was inside me, coiled around my heart, my mind, my every thought. The next step, how to navigate this confrontation, maintain control, and survive, was about to define the night. Sarah's eyes never left me. Her expression hovered between disbelief and curiosity, like she was seeing me for the first time, and yet it was still me beneath all the layers of silk, makeup, and hair. My pulse raced, each beat echoing in my chest like a warning. I tried to steady myself, forcing my legs to hold steady in heels that suddenly felt unbearably precarious. I I just wanted to try something, I murmured, my voice trembling slightly, betraying the fear coiling inside me. She took a slow step closer, and I froze, my breath catching in my throat. Every inch she closed, every shift of her weight, felt magnified. I could feel my vulnerability pressing in from every direction. The thrill of being caught and the terror, intertwined in a sharp, heady spike of adrenaline. "You look amazing," she finally whispered, and my stomach twisted in both relief and shock. Her tone wasn't mocking. It wasn't judgmental. But the suspense lingered because I didn't know what came next. One wrong move could ruin everything. I took a cautious step back, testing the balance of the heels, trying to regain some control. The silk of the dress rustled softly with my movement, and her gaze followed every sound, every ripple, every motion. I realized with a jolt that even the smallest gesture could betray me. Then came a sound, a subtle thump from the apartment's hallway. My head snapped toward the noise. Was it the neighbor? Or something else? Fear clawed at my chest. My heartbeat accelerated, every nerve on edge. Sarah noticed immediately, her eyes widening slightly, and I felt the full weight of suspense pressing down. I think someone's at the door," I stammered, trying to mask panic with casualness. My body refused to obey fully, hands trembling slightly as I clutched the dress. She tilted her head, curiosity shining in her eyes. "Should we check?" she asked, a mischievous tone slipping into her voice. The idea of moving, of opening the door, sent waves of terror through me. If anyone saw me like this, the world would end. But to stand frozen, exposed, and fragile felt just as dangerous. I was trapped in my own secret, caught between risk and safety, excitement and terror. My mind raced. Could I turn back, undo the persona? No. It was too late. The makeup was set, the wig was perfect, the dress clung to me like a second skin. My heels balanced me like a tightrope. Every detail amplified the tension. I was committed, fully and dangerously. We approached the door cautiously, heels clicking in slow, deliberate steps. The hallway beyond was empty, just a shadow, a flicker of movement from a passerby outside. Relief and tension collided inside me. For a moment, I allowed myself to breathe. But the suspense didn't dissipate. It had only sharpened, reminding me how fragile my secret was. As we returned to the living room, Sarah's gaze softened slightly, but the unspoken questions remained. Every glance, every step, every movement was loaded with potential discovery. My reflection in the hallway mirror caught my eye again, perfectly poised, yet trembling underneath the surface. "You're really dedicated," she said softly, almost in awe. "I didn't think you'd go this far." The words sent a shiver down my spine. Dedication? Or obsession? I couldn't tell. The tension in the room was a living thing, wrapping around me, tightening with every heartbeat. I realized that the climax wasn't just external, it was internal. My fear, excitement, and vulnerability had merged into one sharp, almost painful awareness of being completely exposed. Then suddenly, the lights flickered. Just a momentary dip, a brief shadow across the room, but enough to make me jump violently. My heels clicked sharply against the floor, and I felt every ounce of suspense coil tighter around my chest. Sarah laughed softly, clearly enjoying the drama, but my nerves were raw. The persona I had embraced so fully was now a delicate balancing act on the edge of disaster. The room was quiet again, but I could feel the weight of every second stretching endlessly. Every flicker of sound, every movement, every heartbeat was amplified, a constant reminder that my secret was no longer fully mine. The stakes were higher than ever, and the tension, the delicious, terrifying tension, had reached its peak. I realized in that moment, the next move I made could define the rest of the night. Every step, every glance, every breath had to be perfect. Failure was not an option, not when the persona I had created was hanging by the thinnest thread, Not when the suspense had become almost unbearable. I was still trying to steady my breathing when the knock came. 3 sharp, deliberate knocks that froze the world. I turned toward the door, my heart slamming so hard I thought it might burst. Sarah's head snapped up too, her eyes narrowing in confusion. "Are you expecting someone?" she asked. "No," I whispered, my throat dry, my body trembling in place. The sound came again, louder this time, impatient. Whoever it was, they weren't going away. My mind spun. The makeup, the dress, the wig, the heels. Every detail screamed, "I can't be seen like this." Sarah looked at me, then at the door, then back again. Her expression flickered with something between curiosity and amusement. "Well, should I get it?" she asked, already stepping forward. Panic surged through me. "No," I blurted out, too quickly, too desperately. My voice cracked. I'll get it." Before she could argue, I was already moving, the click of my heels echoing in the suffocating silence. I tried to compose myself, to stand taller, to breathe. But my shaking hands betrayed me as I reached for the doorknob. Who could it be? A delivery? A neighbor? Or... The door opened before I could finish the thought. And there he was. Ethan. My best friend. The one whose body I was trapped in. He froze the instant he saw me. His eyes widened, his jaw falling open in sheer disbelief. It was like looking into a mirror that refused to obey reality, seeing my own features twisted with confusion, horror, and shock. "What the hell?" he whispered. My breath caught. The room spun. Sarah turned, confusion on her face, looking from him to me. 2 versions of the same person, staring at each other in paralyzed silence. "Ethan," she said, her voice trembling now. "Wait, how?" I couldn't speak. My throat was tight, my thoughts shattering under the weight of the impossible. Seeing him, seeing me, standing there in the doorway, alive and breathing, broke something inside me. It was real. This wasn't just psychological. Somehow, impossibly, I was really in his body. Ethan stepped forward, eyes blazing. "What did you do?" His voice was sharp, accusing. "Why do you look like that? What's going on?" I tried to answer, but words refused to come. All that escaped was a soft, broken whisper. "I don't know." The silence that followed was thick enough to drown in. Sarah's face had gone pale, her gaze darting between us like she was witnessing something unreal, because she was. "Explain this," Ethan demanded, stepping closer, the tension in his voice rising. "Why are you dressed like that? Why do you look like me?" Tears pricked at the edges of my eyes. I shook my head, barely able to breathe. "I woke up like this," I said. "I thought it was a dream. I thought I'd gone crazy." "You thought you'd gone crazy?" he snapped, his voice breaking. "You're walking around in my body." Sarah took a shaky step backward, hands over her mouth. "This is insane," she whispered. "You're both, how?" The air vibrated with chaos, disbelief, fear, and an underlying sense of horror that none of us could explain. Ethan's eyes flicked over me again. The wig, the dress, the makeup, and his expression shifted from anger to something darker. Disgust? Embarrassment? Betrayal? "You're parading around like this in my body," he said quietly, his voice trembling. That hurt more than anything else. I could barely stand under the weight of his words. "I didn't mean for this to happen," I said, my voice cracking. I didn't know what else to do." Sarah stood frozen, torn between sympathy and fear, her eyes darting between us like she was witnessing the unraveling of a nightmare. The tension was unbearable. The room was too small, the air too thick. The lines between identity, friendship, and reality were blurring into something terrifyingly fragile. Ethan stepped closer again, his voice lower, trembling. "We need to fix this. Now." And then, just as suddenly as he appeared, he collapsed. One moment he was standing in front of me, fury blazing in his eyes, and the next, his body went limp, crashing to the floor with a sickening thud. "Ethan!" Sarah screamed, rushing forward. I stumbled in my heels, trying to move, my body unsteady, my heart pounding so violently I could barely think. I knelt beside him, shaking his shoulders, calling his name, but his eyes were rolled back, unresponsive. The mirror on the wall flickered. For a split second, I saw not myself, but him, standing behind me, reflection twisted, staring straight at me with lifeless eyes. Then the lights went out. Darkness swallowed everything. The lights had gone out in an instant, plunging the apartment into pitch black. Sarah screamed somewhere behind me, and I could hear her scrambling across the floor. My heart pounded violently as I reached blindly for Ethan's body, but my fingers met only cold air. "Ethan!" I shouted into the darkness. "Where are you?" Silence. Then, faintly, a sound. A whisper.
Low.
Familiar. But it was my own voice. "Why are you wearing my face?" I froze. My breathing went shallow, ragged. The sound didn't come from the room. It came from everywhere. The walls, the mirror, the air itself. "Stop it!" I shouted, my voice cracking, panic taking over. A faint light flickered from the kitchen, barely illuminating the room. Sarah was clutching the counter, tears streaking her cheeks, shaking violently. "What's happening?" she cried. I didn't know how to answer. My thoughts were unraveling, spinning out of control. I stumbled toward the light, my heels slipping on the floor, the wig hanging loose against my neck. My reflection appeared again in the kitchen window, except this time, it didn't move when I did. It smiled. I stumbled backward in horror, hitting the table behind me. Dishes crashed to the floor, shattering loudly. The sound jolted Sarah, who looked toward me with wide, terrified eyes. "Something's wrong," I whispered. He's not gone." And then I heard it again, the same whisper, closer this time, sharp and angry. "You stole my life." My heart stopped. The reflection twisted, the eyes narrowing, the face warping into something monstrous and unfamiliar. My breath came fast, shallow. The air in the room felt electric, heavy with tension. Sarah was frozen, unable to move, her gaze locked on the reflection too. "What is that?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Before I could answer, the reflection's hand pressed against the other side of the glass. And I felt it, a cold pressure against my chest, like invisible fingers pushing back. I screamed, stumbling away, clutching at my chest as if to tear the cold away. Sarah rushed toward me, grabbing my arm, but the lights flickered again, and this time I saw something terrifying in her eyes. Recognition. She saw it too. The reflection wasn't just mimicking me anymore, it was alive. "Ethan," she whispered in horror. "That's you." I looked again, and the reflection spoke. Its voice was distorted, layered, both male and female, echoing through my head. "I told you not to mess with me." The lights cut out again. Everything went silent except for my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. My breathing was ragged, my thoughts fractured. I dropped to my knees, trembling, trying to hold on to something real. "Please," I whispered into the dark. "Just stop." Then a hand touched my shoulder. I turned, thinking it was Sarah, but it wasn't. It was me. My face. My old face. My old body. Standing there in the dark, eyes hollow and lifeless, staring down at me. It spoke slowly, its voice an echo. "You took everything from me. My body. My life. My name." Tears streamed down my cheeks as I shook my head violently. "I didn't. I swear I didn't. I don't even know how it happened." It leaned closer, its expression cold, merciless. "Then maybe it's time you learned what it feels like to lose yourself." The lights flashed one last time, bright, blinding, and in that instant, everything reversed. The world tilted, the floor fell away, and I felt a sudden, violent pull, like being dragged underwater. My vision blurred, my lungs burned, and the last thing I saw before everything went black was Sarah screaming my name, her voice fading into the void. The darkness lifted slowly, almost painfully. My eyes adjusted, and I realized I was no longer on the floor. I was standing, but not in my own body. Or at least, it didn't feel entirely mine. I staggered toward the mirror. My reflection stared back, but it was different. Not just the wig, the dress, or makeup. The eyes weren't mine. They were sharper, colder, carrying a weight I couldn't comprehend. Who are you? I whispered, my voice trembling. The reflection tilted its head, smirking faintly. I'm what you've been ignoring all along. Your other half. The one trapped behind the mask you wear. I took a step back, clutching my chest. This isn't real. I'm dreaming. No, it replied, voice echoing strangely, layered. Both mine and not mine. This is real. This is who you are when no one is watching. The person you've hidden. And now you're forced to face it. I stumbled, the heels making it nearly impossible to move gracefully. My knees buckled. Sarah was behind me, wide-eyed, frozen, her hand reaching toward me, her voice breaking. What's happening? What is this? I couldn't answer. Every thought spiraled, every fear magnified. The persona I had carefully constructed, the thrill of secrecy, the excitement of transformation, it all collided with the impossible reality in front of me. The reflection raised a hand, and I felt it, a cold pressure, like ice spreading through my chest. It was controlling me, guiding me, forcing me to confront every hidden desire, every secret fear, every moment I had felt alive in this cross-dressing persona. You wanted this, the reflection whispered. You wanted to be someone else, to hide, to feel powerful, to feel free. But freedom always comes at a cost. I dropped to my knees, sobbing. The heels dug painfully into the floor, the dress clinging uncomfortably, the wig falling slightly from my head. I was completely vulnerable. Yet, paradoxically, I felt more alive than I ever had. The thrill, the fear, the suspense, it coursed through my veins like fire. Sarah stepped closer, placing a hand gently on my shoulder. It's okay, she murmured. Whatever this is, we'll figure it out. But the reflection was relentless. No, it said. You'll only learn by letting go, by surrendering fully to who you've become, or by losing everything. A sudden crash from the hallway startled us. The lights flickered violently, revealing Ethan's limp body in the corner. Or was it my body? Or both? Shadows warped and shifted, the boundaries between reality, reflection, and persona collapsing entirely. I realized the truth, terrifying and exhilarating all at once. I was no longer in control. The transformation, the suspense, the thrill, the fear, it had become part of me. And whether I wanted it or not, I had to face it. The reflection leaned close, almost pressing against a glass, its voice low and haunting. The choice is yours. Accept it or disappear. I swallowed hard. My hands trembled, clutching the dress. The adrenaline surged, my heart racing. For a moment, I felt pure terror, then something else, a strange, intoxicating exhilaration. I had never felt so alive, so exposed, so entirely me in any form. And just as I reached toward the mirror to confront this other half fully, the lights cut out completely. Silence. Then a single, chilling voice whispered from the dark. Welcome to your new life. The apartment was still, except for my own ragged breathing. My reflection, my other self, was gone. But I knew it wasn't really gone. It was waiting, watching, patient, ready for the next move. I sank to the floor, trembling, dress clinging, heels discarded. The thrill, the fear, the suspense, the secret life I had embraced, all of it had changed me, permanently. And somewhere deep inside, a part of me wondered, was I really stuck in my best friend's body, or had I been trapped in my own all along? The apartment was silent, but it wasn't peaceful. My breathing echoed off the walls, each inhale sharp, each exhale trembling. I sank to the floor, heels abandoned, dress clinging awkwardly, wig slipping slightly from my head. Sarah sat beside me, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder, but her eyes were wide with disbelief and fear. Neither of us spoke. Words felt useless, inadequate for the chaos that had just unfolded. The reflection was gone. The body switching, the impossibility, the strange whispers, all of it had vanished into shadows. But I knew it wasn't over. Somewhere, in the dark corners of my mind, in the mirror I had so often relied on for transformation, it waited. Patient. Silent. Watching. I glanced at Sarah, her face pale but curious, still processing. "Did you think it'll come back?" she whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't answer. The truth was, I didn't know. I only knew the feeling that had taken root in me, a mix of thrill, terror, and a haunting sense of exposure that refused to fade. My heart raced as memories of the reflection, Ethan, the strange whispers, and the cold pressure on my chest replayed endlessly in my mind. Slowly, I stood, hands shaking, dress brushing against my legs. I approached the hallway mirror, every nerve screaming in anticipation. My reflection stared back. Normal this time, but something felt off. The eyes were too sharp, too knowing, almost like they were teasing me, reminding me that nothing would ever feel truly safe again. I reached out, fingertips grazing the glass. A shiver ran down my spine. For an instant, I thought I saw a faint smirk flicker across the reflection, a ghostly echo of the persona that had terrorized and thrilled me. Then it was gone, leaving only my own wide-eyed stare staring back. Sarah watched silently. "You're you again," she said softly, uncertain if that was a relief or just another layer of fear. I nodded, unable to speak. The adrenaline still coursing through me left my limbs tense, my mind spinning with questions. Was I really stuck in Ethan's body? Had it all been real? Or was this some psychological nightmare I couldn't escape? Then, from the corner of the room, came a faint sound, almost imperceptible. A whisper so low I thought I imagined it. "You can't hide forever." My blood ran cold. My heart raced uncontrollably. The words weren't spoken by Sarah, weren't even audible to the ordinary ear. They felt like they had seeped directly into my mind. The persona, the reflection, Ethan, whatever it was, had not gone. It was still here, waiting. I backed away slowly, heels clicking softly on the floor. My reflection in the mirror followed, eerily still, yet somehow alive. I wanted to tear my eyes away, to ignore the impossibility, but I couldn't. Something deep inside me, the part that had thrilled in secrecy, that had craved this transformation, refused to let go. Sarah stepped closer. "What is it?" she asked, voice shaking. I swallowed hard, struggling to find the words. I think it's not over," I admitted. My hands trembled as I brushed a strand of hair from my face. "It's still here somewhere. Watching. Waiting." The apartment suddenly felt smaller, darker, more claustrophobic. Every shadow seemed to twitch. Every flicker of light carried a secret. I realized then that nothing would ever be the same. I had crossed a line into a world where identity, reality, and desire collided in dangerous, unpredictable ways. And now, I was trapped in my best friend's body, or perhaps trapped in myself, facing a mystery that had no clear resolution. I sank back onto the couch, wrapping my arms around myself. Sarah sat beside me, silent but tense. The minutes stretched into hours as the shadows lengthened, the silence pressing down. And then, from the mirror again, I saw it, a fleeting shimmer, a subtle distortion, a flicker of movement that didn't belong to me. My stomach tightened. My pulse raced. The whisper returned, almost inaudible but terrifyingly clear. "Your secret is mine now." The words lingered in the room like a living thing. I shivered, realizing the terrifying truth. The suspense wasn't over. It would never be over. Whatever force had pulled me into this nightmare, whatever had trapped me in this surreal transformation, was still present, still waiting, still holding power over me. Sarah reached for my hand, but I pulled back instinctively. I didn't want her to see the fear, the exhilaration, the total vulnerability. My secret, my double life, my transformation, my forbidden thrill, was mine alone, and it was far from finished. The mirror reflected me once more. My own eyes stared back. But behind them, I felt it, The persona, the reflection, the other self, lurking, patient, ready. And I knew, without a doubt, that tomorrow, tonight, or any moment in the future, my life would never be the same. The screen of reality had shifted. My secret had taken a life of its own. And for the first time, I understood. The suspense, the fear, the thrill, they were permanent. I hugged my knees to my chest, trembling, unsure whether to laugh, cry, or scream. The shadows of uncertainty wrapped around me like a living blanket, suffocating and thrilling all at once. And as the lights flickered faintly again, I whispered into the empty room, almost daring it. "Whatever you are, I'm ready for you." The apartment stayed silent for now, but deep inside, I knew the suspense had only just begun.